Hello, my friends. Hello, everybody. Hello, amazing hackers. I hope you're doing well today. So today I would like to host a AMA. Hello, everybody who is in the Twitter space. Hello, everybody who is on YouTube. Hope you're doing well today, my friends. So first of all, I would like to ask you if you'd like to ask a question or if you have anything to share. I would like to ask you to please do that. I would love to hear from you guys more than I hear from myself because I can talk to myself all day, but you guys are more interesting than me. So first of all, I want to get started about pen testing. Um, Pen testing has a lot of different flavors, and it comes in web app pen testing, which is a lot of the pen testing that happens these days. It will be a big percentage of the requests that we get as well. For that, I would say it's very important to learn web apps properly, how to test them properly, and also not just web apps, but also a little bit of networking. Not too much networking, of course. It's important to know it, but it's important to, if you want to get a pen testing job, so you should show some kind of competence because they will guide you, they will have a methodology for you, but you need some kind of competence for those people as well. Hello, Mr. Matt. How are you doing, my friend? Great having you here as well. So, let me see. We also have what I had is a question about Burp Suite as well. So for Burp Suite, I think it really matters. It's really important that you learn how to use Burp Suite, but not in a way that you think, because Burp Suite, what it really is a man-in-the-middle proxy. Now you have several different flavors of man-in-the-middle proxies. WASP-SAP is one of them as well, and Charles Proxy as well, for example. It's important to know at least some of them, because what a man-in-the-middle proxy does is it enables you to test pretty much anything. You can test, for example, web applications, but what you're really doing is intercepting traffic. So as long as you're able to um, actually insert your Burp Suite certificate into the device or into the software that you're testing, and you're able to set the proxy of that device or software, you're able to test it. That means desktop applications, that means mobile applications, that means pretty much anything. So it's really important to learn Burp Suite, but not for the things that you might imagine, not just web applications. It's important to learn how to intercept traffic. A lot of these things, what we're talking about is desktop applications, mobile, IoT, everything is basically talking to an API these days. That's what we have quite a lot. And if you learn API hacking, you will learn quite a lot. Um, Basically, API hacking, it makes up a big portion of these days. If you think about it, a mobile application, if you have a static mobile application, it's not interesting at all. You need to have some interaction with a server to make things interesting. Hello, my friend Bernard. How are you doing? You're on mute, by the way, so I don't know if you're speaking, but we can't hear you. So maybe a little bit about that API testing part as well. It seems like you are. Hey, my friend, how are you doing? We can hear you now. Um, can you hear me, my friend?
Yeah, can you hear it?
Awesome. Pleasure to meet you. How are you doing?
I'm fine.
Would you like to ask anything or would you like to say anything?
No, I don't have a question for now.
Okay, if you have a question, feel free to ask it. Welcome, by the way, to the space. Hope you're doing well. Uh, Welcome, my friend. Medicine. No, sorry, Medicine Wacko. Is that pronounced correctly?
Yeah, how
And
are you? It's a pleasure to talk to you.
Pleasure to talk to you as well. I'm doing good, thank you. I had a wonderful day today. I found a good bug. I'm a QA engineer as well. You guys probably know that. And I found a good bug in the software that prevented production data from being overwritten. So that's always a
Wow,
good day for
nice.
me.
Congrats.
Thank you. How about yourself?
Well, I have a few questions actually. I just finished like a cybersecurity bootcamp. Okay, I have like a kind of a little knowledge of some topics, and I want to start like I did some projects of penetration tester, but it was like not a real hands-on experience like things that are happening right now, in the world. It was like hacking a machine of Windows, I don't know, 2008. So also like want to go into bug bounties. I have like many of your programs in Udemy, like ready like to go, but like to go into bug bounties, do I have, of course, getting the knowledge of networking, and I want to also get the knowledge to how manipulate Burp Suite, and then do you think that I'm ready to go to start doing some bugs?
That's a great question. Thanks a lot. I really appreciate that. So, first of all, about the networking part, I don't think it's necessary to learn that to get into bug bounties because if you really want to get into bug bounties, what really matters, and this might sound silly, is that you get a bug bounty buddy, somebody that can hack with you and somebody that can because the hardest part, like you probably already know, is getting started, kicking yourself in the butt and saying, "Come on, let's go. We need to get started here." And that's
So
why,
you mean it's more important like JavaScript or getting language programming?
like a person, like a real person that you can interact with and hack with together, because it will really help with learning, like somebody who is about your level. And I know it's hard to find, but there are groups out there where you can go and look for people to hack with who are about the same level, and then you can learn from each other. And the thing about bug bounties is, no matter how much you learn, you're gonna get surprised anyway. So it's best to just, like you say, learn Burp Suite, get a very basic understanding of the vulnerabilities, and then dive in. And I know that might give you a lot of frustration as well, because you might not find anything directly, but it's important to see bug bounties as a it's not really hunting for bugs, it's more testing your methodology against your target. And it might be that your target is secure, and you might come across new technologies, like for example, if you come across a DynamoDB, then you might have to look up what NoSQL hacking looks like and what NoSQL pen testing looks like. And if you
Okay,
if you
okay.
come across like LDAP, you have to look that up. It's about what you come across, and you have to learn as you go. But you do need some of that basic level understanding as well. That it's important, but not too much. And like I say, just get somebody to hack with you, because it really helps keeping you motivated. That's what got me through my OSCP. And I know it sounds silly, but I'm kind of competitive like that. Whenever I'm hacking with somebody, I want to show them things and I want to explain them things. So I always
Yeah,
try
it's
to.
like more exciting.
Exactly. It's like, hey, look what I found. If you do this and that, you can do that. And then they might have another idea. And that's like, that's half of, no, I would even say like 60-70% of bug bounties is just a mindset as well. Like, you're not doing bug bounties as a pen tester, because bug bounties is so much more advanced than just pen testing. Your bug bounty target has been pen tested before, so that means that you are testing a target that has been tested to death by other people. What bug bounties is about, and you will soon understand this as well if you want to get into web applications, you will probably get a decent level understanding of all of the different vulnerabilities, like cross-site scripting and XXE.
Okay, okay.
But
You
like,
know,
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, sorry.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say, finish off. You know, the basic vulnerabilities, you will have one unique thing which you're good at. For me, that's either broken access control business logic vulnerabilities, and I look for that in every single target that I hack.
Oh.
Sorry, that was just
Yeah, yeah. No, but it's important, you know. I also like it's funny because I have a 500 Fortune company. Okay, like I'm getting interviewed by in cybersecurity, like entry level. Well, first, actually, I would like to know your opinion of like 500 Fortune company, like getting bug bounties program. Do you think that they have to have that? They should have.
I think everything that's on the internet should at least have a security.txt file. That's the least they can have. Like who to contact if you find a security vulnerability.
Okay, okay.
Because
And it's funny because they like in the first interview they said like I don't know they start implementing security even they have I don't know 500 like billions annual in revenue like I don't know almost 8 years ago, and in these days they found like a DNS that it was hosted by the name of the company, uh, uh, but it was like a porn site. So maybe it's they found that in these days. Do you think that it's of course and they don't have any bug bounties program? So do you think that they have like deeper things to look at there?
yeah, like the thing is, I can teach anybody to hack. I can teach my grandmother to find a cross-site scripting attack because all you have to do is take one attack vector, put it into Google, and then open some random sites, and eventually you will get into one site which doesn't protect against cross-site scripting, and bam, you have your cross-site scripting attack. So it can get very easy to find vulnerabilities, but to find vulnerabilities on targets that actually care is a completely different thing. And getting those companies to care is a very hard thing. Like convincing them that cybersecurity is a real threat is still a hard thing. We live in 2022 and it boggles my mind that we have to convince Fortune 500 companies to at least get a security.txt or a bug bounty or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
Insane. Like, but it's good that they're at least starting to realize that security is becoming a real thing and it's opening up a lot of job opportunities as well for people like us, which is a really good thing. But I think like we have to be a bit careful as well that we don't go into these jobs without the proper knowledge because often managers will have a tendency to put people into lead positions, like you will be like a lead pen tester or you will be determining the methodology, while you might not have that basic level of knowledge of all of the vulnerability types because like even the vulnerability types it doesn't cover it all. If I'm talking about pen testing, what I do is I have a very expansive list. A typical pen test of a medium website takes about 1 week for me. So that shows you how much you actually test for in a pen test. And you have to have that basic level of knowledge because you have to give a certain coverage guarantee as well. And it's the same for these Fortune 500 companies. I wish they would understand that that level of coverage is really important, that risk management. Like what's really good at least is that we have companies that are starting to realize that it's important, that are starting to hire the right people, but like realize as well that managers will hire people that might not be competent, that might become your tech lead. So that might also be an issue. But like, don't worry too much about that. Just work hard and use this opportunity because they are providing you an opportunity. But in these days, when I'm talking about jobs, nobody stays at the same company for 15, 20 years anymore. Like, my dad
Yeah.
when in his age, people stayed at the same company forever. They didn't move companies, but like right now, what I did well, in my opinion, was I used their training budget well. I got myself certified. That's something I did well. And oh yeah, great question. I would definitely take advantage of that opportunity since it's coming on your way. Um, Everybody, if you have an opportunity to become a pen tester and you want to do it, go for it. You will learn a whole lot of things, and especially you will learn a lot of things about companies as well and how companies operate because you will learn that not every single vulnerability matters as much to the same companies. Like if I have a web shop, they they might, for example, if I have a web shop, they might not care as much about reflected cross-site scripting because their cookies are secure, they have proper CSP. But if you talk about a bank, if they have a cross-site scripting vulnerability in there, that's actually against the law. You know, they have to abide to a security standard, and cross-site scripting does not fit in that security standard. So I think.
It's funny how you like categorize that vulnerabilities. Is like any like a book or something that you have like separate the vulnerabilities like for maybe corporation or something.
Yeah, like every single web application I will approach differently as well. It's you have to do that because a web shop you can't test it the same as a big bank. You really have to take different security precautions. That's the first thing, because Lord knows I'm a target as well. If I get hacked and my client's data gets stolen, I am definitely not in a good position. But of course, you have to apply a different methodology as well. And a methodology is kind of the wrong word for it, I think, because it's more of a mindset that you're trying to apply to a target. For me, what I did is I took the OWASP Web Security Testing Guide, the OWASP Top 10, API Top 10, the CWE Top 25, and I took a whole bunch of sources to create one big list that I check for. And it's not even complete because I'll give you an example. On my list, it says username enumeration. Well, I can zoom in deeper on that page then again because I've written it that way. But on my username enumeration page, I will have written some things which I will do for that. But in the back of my head, there's also other things that I want to do with username enumeration. It's definitely not complete, but it's like a mind map of all of the things that I can do. Because in the end, you will learn so much different types of issues that it's hard to keep track of all of the different types that you know. That's at least my problem that I have. I don't know if other people have that issue as well. There's there's also there's like so much to learn. If I look at the if I've listed the vulnerability types that I check for and I've written pages for them as well. I think like it's 16 issue types that I check for. If I can categorize them as issue types. And
Uh,
it's hard to categorize them as well, in my opinion, because if you look at the OWASP top 10, for example, a lot of people misuse that and say, "Oh, I'm pen testing in accordance with the OWASP top 10." Yeah, but that really doesn't say anything because the OWASP top 10 is a every single item in that is a vulnerability type. So you can test for many different ways for these vulnerability types. And I think it's important to give your clients like a more granular breakdown of what you're actually testing. Like when, I don't know if you guys find this interesting, by the way, feel free to stop me if I'm yapping too much. But whenever I write pen test report, what I will do is I write down my vulnerabilities, and then I will also write down what I tested but didn't work. Like I will say I have tested this type of user and I tried to do broken access control on these types of functionalities. Didn't work. I find it important that my client knows that, of course, it's not important for everybody. Definitely not every company does that. And you don't have to go very granular either. You can make it as high level as you want. You can do what you want. It's your pen testing report. But in the end, you have to make sure that your target is secure and knows how secure it is and what coverage. That report is only part of it. I always give my clients a debriefing as well, like just a verbal debriefing. Okay, this is what I found. This is what is very secure on your. It's important to say that as well. This is secure on your guys' property because you're kind of breaking down these developers' work and all of these architects. So it's important to bring some positivity into it as well. At least that's my opinion. If anybody else has any other opinions, feel free to speak up. I would love to hear them. I see that we have some questions as well from the live stream. Question: any good password sprayer? About password brute forcing? What I do is, and I learned this from OSCP, is I will go onto the website, I will rip some of the keywords. I think it's with cool and or is yeah, it's with cool and then with John I will create a permutation list. I don't know exactly the steps, but it's like you just rip the passwords. Sorry, you just rip some keywords from the page, you make a permutation list, and that's usually a very effective password list for admin stuff. But of course, if you're doing any kind of brute forcing, don't break your target down. Make sure that you one have permission and that you two do it in a way that the target allows for it. That you're not completely destroying your target. And if you do password spraying, make sure that you know what you're doing with the usernames as well, of course. Don't start spraying usernames that don't exist. There's no point in that. What's the meaning of life, homie? I would say 42, but besides that, also learning for me, and that's the step that I'm at right now. I've thought about this a lot in my past, like what's the meaning of life? For me, it's eternal learning, and you can try to reach a goal, but the moment you reach that goal, what then? Will you be happy when you reach that goal? For at least that's not my way of working, and that's not how my brain works. And that's why I can't sit on the sofa either and watch TV all evening. That's why I'm always working. I just want to improve myself step by step, and I know that I have a long way to go, but that's why I'm also not rushing it. Like, it's important I see a heap of work around me because all of my goals are very, very ambitious. And I try to break them down into little steps and I see which ones work. And I try a lot of things. That's important for me. That's how I learn quickly. I try a lot of things will fail, some things will work, and I will try and improving that concept. It's kind of like how AI works. Anyway, sorry about that intermezzo. Let's see. Burp Suite has a great intruder tool for brute forcing. Agreed, Matt Fowler. Should I go for web pen testing and try to do bug bounties? I go for OSCP certificate. I'm looking for a job. I'm definitely looking for a job. If you want to do bug bounties, go ahead, but first of all, give it a shot, see if it's something for you. And second of all, it's never consistent income. Even if you're the best hunter in the world that can consistently report bugs, the companies will not consistently pay out. Sometimes it will take a long time for the company to pay out. You have to take that into consideration. So it's a lot of headache. You don't want that if you don't have any stability, in my opinion. If you have a big savings account and you really want to try it, but don't dive head in at first. It's probably not a good idea. That's my opinion. I see Mr. Sean is in here as well. Welcome, Mr. Sean. I hope you're doing well. If you have any other opinions on this, please feel free to correct me because I highly respect your opinion. It's midnight, 5 a.m. in India, and I'm watching Uncle Red instead of sleeping. You should be sleeping, my friend. That's not a good idea. This is going to be a video on demand as well, so let's see here. Not sure if this was asked already. Other sites like TryHackMe and PicoCTF, good places to learn about pen testing and InfoSec in general. Great question, my friends. So, I love that you have labs available and a lot of labs available, but what a lot of labs do as well and what they do wrong is they give you a sense of, oh, I'm looking for a vulnerability and I know that I'm looking for a vulnerability. That's an important distinction to make between a real target if you're doing bug bounties, because in a real target you will be very insecure and you should be used to that insecurity, in my opinion. You should try to get used to that and try to always think whenever you're practicing, how would I look for this vulnerability on a real target? Because I know that these targets try to be realistic as possible, but you still know that there's a vulnerability in there. You still know that you're looking for it. So definitely something that you can take into account. You can definitely use those websites. Also, Choose Shop, definitely a great place to start. But know that a lot of these things are either going to be unrealistic, especially for CTFs. They might be a little bit more unrealistic based on like an idea that the developer had or something like that. Great way to develop a mindset, but they're maybe a bit less realistic versus the more realistic labs that are out there. But still, try to build a mindset of, okay, how would I look for this vulnerability on a real target? I hope that answers your question. Let's see. Are you giving away your notes? If you like that, that's definitely not a problem. Let's do a giveaway of my notes. So I'm going to create a coupon real quick. While I do that, let's see if we have any new questions as well. Um, Try Hack Me, Hack the Box. Yeah, definitely some great sites. There was a thread on Twitter recently with great free labs, a lot of them. Hacks the Box is the best, I think, because it pushes you and you can hit them everything. Hack the Box is definitely a great website to learn network penetration testing. But if you are more into the web application side of things, I would highly advise the Port Swigger Academy. They're really, really good at things. Let's see. Those websites, I think, good for CTF and takedown machines, weak for pen testing and web. Yep, definitely. So, like I said, for web, you have that option. You have my labs as well. I'll throw some labs online that are more realistic, and I'll ask you guys to see if you can find a vulnerability in there as well. Hey, let's see. Can you watch walkthroughs of them if you're a beginner, or is it best to try at first and then, if you get stuck for a while, watch a walkthrough? Well, that definitely just depends on who you are. If you learn more by following other people's guides, then definitely do that. But you will not develop that intuition how you can hunt for those things yourself. So that's something that you have to watch out for if you're following other people's walkthroughs, that you don't get lazy and you actually try to think, how did this person get to this result? And because often walkthroughs will be like step one, step two, step three, step four, but what they skip is a lot of the failures. Oh, I tried this, but it didn't work. I tried this, but it didn't work. That's something that you have to keep in the back of your mind as well. Let's see.
I'd like to add to that, if you won't mind.
Definitely,
Very
I would
quickly.
love to. Thank you, Brandon.
Thank. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was gonna say thank you. Welcome on the space. Great having you here.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here. I was going to add to what you just said, and the walkthroughs have there is an important piece. I mean, if you're on Try Hack Me, they have a lot of they have the concepts laid out for you. So if you're actually working on a box in Try Hack Me, you can go back and usually find a step-by-step tutorial box to help you learn the process for that particular attack. But Hack the Box does not have that feature. You really need to have a foundation for those. The good news about looking at walkthroughs is Brad is absolutely right. You can't get lazy and just say, oh, look, I completed the box after just doing walkthrough after walkthrough. Make sure that you learn what you needed to get to do it right the next time. Look at the intention and the thought and the mindset behind the walkthrough. So if they're using a technique that you've never seen before, that's exactly what the walkthrough's for. It's like, oh, well, now I have to go and study that particular thing. So, make sure that if you do look at any walkthroughs that you're taking away something from it so that you're improving with every box instead of just like Rad said, following step-by-step guides mindlessly, one after the other.
Definitely, and like that's what I liked about OSCP, about their labs so much. You couldn't really spoil things in the forums, but you could give tips and hints. So if you're doing things like hack the box, you can definitely go look on the forums. They can give hints as well, I think, but they don't give spoilers. So at least for the active boxes, and the same thing goes for the at least that's what I try to do whenever I try to upload a walkthrough. I try to always show the failures as well, because that's one thing you learn as a QA engineer, that the happy path is something that's definitely something you have to walk, but also the failures. And it's also a question of learning how all of these tools work, kind of like, okay, in the very, very beginning, you might need some instruction on how Burp Suite works, for example. Well, then you can go watch walkthrough and you can find out that way, but you can also just go to Google and try to see if you can find some information on Burp Suite or OWASP app or God knows what, whatever tool is needed. And these days you also have tools like automatic CTF solvers. I think Katana is the name or something like that. I'm not a big fan of using those automatic tools, anything automated. I'm not a big fan of using that. You guys know that because automation is great, but it skips a lot because automation can only look where you tell it to look and it can only see what you tell it to see. So it's really important that you set up your automation right. But to do that, you first need to know how to do things manually. That's very important. Hello, Mustafa. How are you doing, my friend?
Hello, I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Yeah, I hope so. Okay, so basically, this is my first ever, this is my first time to talk on this platform. But I had a question, like a very simple question. And I've been following you since I downloaded Twitter. And yeah, I'm very honored.
That's awesome. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're actually one of my idols. But let me just ask my question right away. I'm very soon applying to my EJPT certificate, and I just want to ask, is it enough to land me a job?
Um, I think any certificate is definitely going to help. But what's really important in getting you a job is getting you some publicity, getting you out there, getting you known. And while you're doing your AGPT, make a blog about it as well. Make a blog about what you're learning and helping other people that way. You don't have to be very famous or get famous or anything, but just showing that you're helping other people can help future employers tell a lot about you and also a lot about your ability to learn things as well. And
Okay.
like any certificate is a plus, of course. Like if you have it, it's definitely a big plus.
Okay, so your advice is to create my own blog and start writing about CTFs that I finish, and I make a blog about the certificate itself, like my experience.
Yeah, and like what you learn about it, definitely. Like, and you don't have to blog, of course. You can make like a YouTube channel or even just
Yeah.
a very small walkthrough or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. Okay,
Any
that's fine. Can I create my own Medium account and start writing something like my walkthroughs right there?
Definitely, I think a lot of people would love that. Like, a lot of people get stuck on these things and they want to have somebody help them a little bit. And the more people write about things, the better, because I can describe things some a way, and my friend Brandon can describe them a different way, and one of
Yeah.
them might click with you, so, but one the other might not.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, yeah, I have another question. I'm very sorry.
No, definitely, go ahead.
Like, do you prefer coding my own website. I'm currently studying Django framework, and do you think like I can write my own website and start blogging there, or shall I just create like something very fast, like a Medium blog or something like this? Which way do you prefer?
Oh, it's definitely a great way that you use Django because any programming experience that you can have will help you a lot. I am training somebody as well, and the first thing I tell the people I train is make a website. Start with simple HTML, JavaScript, CSS, add some PHP on there, make a MySQL database, learn how networking works as well.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for your questions. I really appreciate it as well. If you have another one, please don't hesitate to ask. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Hello.
Remember that it's also you. You're now a researcher. You know, you need to. It's part of the mindset of what to. You know, don't try not to pay attention to all the competition on Twitter. You know, don't look at your fellow bug hunters and hackers as competition per se. I mean, maybe a little bit to drive you along, but at the same time, they're really your peers and collaborators. They are, you know, people that are working towards the same goal that you are. And but really, you are, each one of you is an independent researcher. So you're posting your findings, you know, and it doesn't matter how many people read them. It's really just that you are contributing to the community and, you know, doing your own research on all these things. Yeah, frankly speaking, I fell into this a lot of time because I feel like when I feel that so many people are better than me, I feel disappointed somehow, but I try to motivate myself. So, that's how we all feel. That's all of us. I can tell you with 100% certainty, the best hackers on Twitter that you can find felt that way at one point, and all of us feel that way sometimes. Really, it's so common. I do all the time, and so don't let that. That's one of the biggest things. Like Rad said earlier, one of the hardest things to do is to start. And there is all of this stuff is not easy. There is no easy road. There's no shortcut. It is just putting in the time, the hours, and learning. And it takes a long time, but it's worth it. And trust me, when you get there, there will be bugs waiting for you. There will be systems to hack. It seems like on Twitter that everybody has hacked everything already, and you know, why start now? You know, I'm just learning. I'm just getting into it. You know, you have really, you know, very, very, very young people. But you know what? We are all thinking that way, but it's just a kind of a lie. You have a lot to contribute and a great journey ahead of you. So go for it. Thank you so much.
The thing is, like, how I see it is like,
Hello.
hello, my friend. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine.
Pleasure to meet you.
Sorry, I'm facing some challenges. Now I'm taking course in Port Swinger. So the challenges is I don't know because I've been practicing each rooms consistently, and I don't know whether what I'm practicing to take it into real life and practicing like bug bounty to find the website to be testing on. So that is why I'm confused, because the more I practice, sometimes I feel like I'm forgetting what I'm practicing.
That's a great question.
Hello.
Yeah, sorry, my mic was muted. That's a great question there. I have the same thing, and that's why I really keep my notes very diligently. If you check on Twitter right now on my account, you can download my notes, and you can see how I built them up a little bit. And I always keep them not because I want to learn about the vulnerability every time, but just because I want a reminder of what I'm checking for. Also, like, if I check for cross-site scripting, for example, I want a reminder of what I'm checking for. If I check for a SQL injection, same thing, command injection. I always want to have at least some list with me to know what I'm doing. And as I go through these things, I my list keeps growing and growing. So it's ever more important that I keep my notes very well. What I do is I have like a pen and paper, and I write down everything that I want to put into a notebook. And what I do then afterwards, whenever I'm not hacking anymore, whenever I do have time, then I will try to make them into beautiful notes, but not while I'm hacking. That's my hacking time. And you have to have notes to remember stuff. At least that's my how I work. If I don't have my notes, I am useless. I will honestly admit that.
Okay. Are you suggesting that if I practice maybe authentication or authorization, I should take it to a real life bug bounty, maybe a website and test it, or I should finish with Postfinger, have a note of all the topic or the vulnerability I've learned from there before I moved down to the bug bounty website to test on.
Yeah, like more like if you go into bug bounties, you will be confused anyway. Just accept that fact and go find the target and go start hacking. Don't worry about if you know your vulnerabilities or not. Whenever you come across something, look up how to hack it. Just Google how to hack it. If you come up across a SQL database, you can look up SQL injections or NoSQL injection or LDAP injection or whatever you come across, you know. But whatever you will come across, it will probably be something new for you. That's what I like about bug bounty so much. There's so much new things that you can learn about. Like if you see it's Angular, then you learn how to hack Angular, for example.
Okay, thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you for your questions. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Hello, Emma Younga. How are you doing? You're muted, by the way, Emma, so I don't know if you're speaking, but we can't hear you.
Hi, friend. How are you?
Hello, my friend. Doing well. How are you?
I'm also doing good.
Good to have you
So,
here.
yeah, like first time I'm attending this workspace here.
I hope you like it. We're trying to get.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, it's awesome actually. Nice.
Thank you. Really
So,
appreciate it.
I have one question. Um, if you think about the organization perspective, so there are three types I think have like a dust, SAST, and a manual pen testing. So, which you should from there we start and we can learn more.
Dust is definitely the way to go because Dust requires to have very intricate knowledge about the vulnerability types. You're doing things like code reviews, and to find vulnerabilities in a code without running that code is very, very difficult. Like it's like whenever I'm trying to test, I can look at the code without running it, but I will have a much harder time finding vulnerabilities. So definitely go with that, and you can do that with. It basically just means Dust is running your application. There is no magic behind it. A lot of these security companies will tout that they do like the vulnerability scanners, which will do dust scanning. Yeah, of course you're doing that. Duh, of course you're scanning while my application is running. You can do static code review as well. They will add that into their marketing terms. So for me, it's basically just a marketing term, static or dynamic analysis. That's what that is. Great question. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Hello, Emma. I think we can hear you now. Or we could. I saw you were unmuted, but I think you're muted again. If you can get that issue resolved, feel free to ask your question. Welcome, by the way. Good to have you here. Good to have everybody here. So many people. I really appreciate that. Um, if anybody else has any questions, also feel free to ask them. I see we have some questions on the live stream as well. Is there an exploit for cross-domain configuration? I'll have to look that up. Like I said, I'm useless without my notes. Um, what is the minimum requirement for a pen tester to go as a freelancer? I think the very minimum requirement is that you have a basic understanding of how companies work, what's impactful to them, how to handle documentation, and how to handle time registration. Because you're gonna be reporting to your client, I've been working on 160 hours. You better have some way of telling the client what you did in those 160 hours. So time tracking is it's something that people underestimate because you can easily lose yourself and forget to do your time tracking. Don't underestimate that, my friends. That can be deadly. Also, minimum requirements is to think beyond the set scope. Like, what I mean by that is you have a methodology, you need to follow your methodology, but you also need to do a little bit of exploratory testing. That's very important. Exploratory testing will find you a lot of vulnerabilities. I leave a few hours of exploratory testing at least every single pen test that I do. It's very important too. First of all, I spent about 8 hours just getting to know my target, not hacking at all. And then I do some exploratory hacking as well. Hello, my friend. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm okay. Thank you for having us here. Actually, I don't really have any question, but I just want to take this opportunity to thank you very, very much because um, I was a little bit down sometime. I'd given up on cybersecurity and hacking and everything. But then I just came across your video on YouTube, actually from Twitter. I followed you on Twitter, then I went to your YouTube channel, and I found your content. I was really um impressed, and I got up on my feet and started doing some hacking. I started with Portswigger, then I started doing some CTS on Hack 101. Yeah, and I think I'm improving day by day. Thank you so much.
That's really good to hear. Thank you so much. Really appreciate the support. It's awesome that people like you are finding the strength to continue because believe me, everybody's thought about quitting at least one time. At least one time. Same thing for me. I've thought about quitting more than once. And it's not about doubting my skills, it's not about not being able to do what I love. It's more about I don't feel good enough. I don't feel adequate enough to do this sometimes. And it's all got to do with life being a roller coaster for me. Like you have a baseline of not being happy, not being sad, and life is a roller coaster that revolves around that baseline. My goal is to get the roller coaster to roll as high as possible and go above the baseline while my lows remain as high as possible as well. So it's definitely hard. I'm not gonna lie. I have these days where I just don't want to even talk to people, and that's why sometimes you won't see me on Twitter for a few days. It's where I just have this moment where I feel terrible and I just don't feel good enough. But it every single time I have that moment, I allow myself the time and the space to feel that way and to feel bad about how I've been doing because you can't always do good. It's impossible to always feel good as well. It's like gambling in a casino. It's impossible to always win. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna try to win a little bit more than you lose. That's your goal, at least in a casino. That's the game, you know? And that's the game of life as well. You're always gonna try to win a bit more than you lose. Anyway, don't know where I was going with that, but thanks a lot for the support. I really appreciate it, and please don't give up. It's really important to just if you feel like giving up, give yourself some space. Eat well, and this might sound silly, but eat well, exercise, and that will go a long way already. Food and drinks plus exercise are one of the most important things that your body can have. Believe me, I'm a fibromyalgia patient. I know. If I don't eat well, my pain is infinitely worse. So it's definitely something to look out for. And if I hack, I give myself time. I time box myself to a degree because you can easily lose yourself into hacking as well. And it's easy to burn out that way because you're going very, very hard at a very, very hard pace. You're going lab after lab after lab, doing CTF here, there. And the thing is, you will see the world rushing by you on Twitter because people are discovering new things, people are finding bug bounties, but let the world rush by you. It's just that this one person was lucky one time, but other people's successes in this society are highlighted much more than their failures. I can tell you that everybody who was successful failed a lot at one point. That's something that I did as well. I fail a lot. I still fail a lot, but I do it on purpose because for me, failure doesn't really exist. I have a word for it and I call it experience. Simple as that. Sorry about my brabbling. Mr. Brennan, did you want to say something? Okay, if you want to say something, please feel free to. I might babble a bit too much. What we have as well is another question from Lucas coming in. What about Burp Suite J3A fingerprint? So I'm gonna look that up real quick while we answer some other questions. Let's see, copy. Gonna come back to you on that. Let's see here. Rule number one: don't compare yourself to anyone. And if you feel like quitting, stop for a few days and go back. That's a great advice. Aknar. Why do you guys always have such tough to pronounce the names? Anyway, great advice. And go into nature a lot as well. Take long walks into nature. It really helps to just be outside. Don't be outside. And if you feel bad, don't try. If you hack on your good moments, don't try to hack on your bad moments. That's something that I've learned a long time ago. Because if you hack on your best moments and you push through, you're only gonna make it worse. You're gonna be out for a few days, I can promise you that. Let's see. In the field, there is food for everyone and it will never end. Definitely, there is a lot of things that we can still test for. Same thing for pen testing as well. Sorry, for bug bounties. A lot of people think that bug bounties are saturated. They are definitely not. I can tell you that some of these top platforms, what you guys see as top platforms, have a select few top hackers, which get definitely a lot of vulnerabilities. But the majority of bug bounty hunters don't find a lot of vulnerabilities. It's simple as that. It's the same thing as you see in society in working class, because you have like, for me at least, that's how I see it. Well, I don't know what I can say anymore. No, not a problem. Let's move on. So for me, pen testing, bug bounties, we are definitely not exhausted yet. There's still a lot of things to be had. And we've said this before as well. You just need to exhaust your own personal thing that you're good at. Don't try to force things that you're not good at. You're only gonna make it worse and you're gonna maybe even resent hacking. That's why if you ever go into bug bounties, definitely do it, but beware that you might resent hacking. Just make sure that you don't fall into that trap that a lot of people fall into, thinking, oh, bug bounties is so annoying because I can't find anything for months or at a time. Well, there's two things you can do there. The bug bounties is either about speed. You can be first to attack a target. That means that you're gonna keep an eye on Google, an eye on Tesla, and all of these big companies. And if they release a new, or if they buy a new company within a few months, it will fall under their bug bounty program as well. So you're gonna be first in that, or you're gonna be first discover a new subdomain that you're hacking on, but you have to be first somehow, or you can be more creative than people, and that's what I try to do. Also, a little bit more patient. broken access control, you have to put a lot of time into properly testing broken access control. Because if you test it, you're gonna test all different user levels against administrative rights. You're gonna test that those user rights can only execute what they should be executing. If you're really approaching target, you're gonna look at parameters. If you're looking at a bug bounty target, what you're gonna do is you're gonna look at the parameter, and you're gonna see, okay, this parameter might be reflected on the page. Then I'm gonna look for cross-site scripting. Okay, this parameter, it looks like a login. Then I'm gonna look for SQL injection. Parameters are important when you get into bug bounties. It's much more that than you're actually looking for X vulnerability on target Y. You're actually learning to get to know target Y first of all. Take your time. You're not freaking time framed like a pen tester, so take your time to get to know your enemy. Maybe they have a manual up. Maybe you can take 16 or 20 or 24, whatever, how many hours it takes to normally test it with Burp Suite in the background. As long as you have Burp Suite in the background, you can filter on the parameterized requests, and then you can look further. So, I don't know if anybody else has any more questions. Feel free to ask them as well. Let's see. Mr. Agnar says, I surf to recharge energy. That's freaking cool. I love surfing. We don't have much surfing right here, but I used to skateboard when I was younger. And then I went into martial arts, Sinmo Hapkido. And then after that, I did no sports at all for a little while. But as I have fibro, I have to keep my body healthy a little bit, so I have to do sports. And now I'm swimming and actually just besides swimming, just jogging as well. That's something that really helps. Jogging is something that you can get into really deeply as well, but I'm not gonna get into that in this space. Hello, my friend. Welcome, Mr. Period. I'm just gonna call you Mr. Period. Your mic is muted, by the way, so I don't know if you're speaking, but we can't hear you. Mr. Gyrus says, application testing are the best. I love application testing, my friend. I love all software quality characteristics. I love usability, I love security, I love performance, I love functionality. I love all of those, and that is what makes a good tester as well, in my opinion. What separates them from a bug bounty hunter that just wants to make money. For example, I learned a lot of tools. So if I come across a Kibana, Elasticsearch, Logstash, then I can easily search through it. I know how to use the Kibana. It's important to have that as a background. I know how to use JMeter to send a bunch of requests at the exact same time. I know you have Burp Suite and Truder for that, but I know I prefer my way, the one that I know, because I have very granular control over the users that I send. Maybe in Intruder as well, I haven't looked at it that deeply, but JMeter is my preferred method for that. And let's see, so, oh, awesome, MMA is really cool. Oh, I wish I could still do martial arts, I really miss that. But yeah, like I was a green belt. You had a white belt, then the yellow, then the blue, and then the green, I think, or green and then blue. And I was the green belt. And the day I had my exam, I had a locked shoulder, a locked nerve in my shoulder. So I had to do my exam with extreme agony, but I passed anyway. So that gives me a great feeling, and a feeling that I can do anything that I want as long as I set my mind to it. Um, Sorry, Mr. Period, did you have any more questions? Because again, I keep yapping on about stuff that doesn't really matter. All right, I don't know if there's any more questions from the live stream either. Feel free to send them in. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you everybody for being in the space as well and asking questions. Your interactivity really matters a lot to me. I've been talking too long, so I'm going to take a break, eat some cashew nuts. I really like cashew nuts, and have some good cheese and wine with it. See you friends later. Thank you everybody for joining. And remember, you guys really are all amazing hackers. Bye bye, my friends. Also, bye bye, my friends on YouTube. You guys should remember that you are all amazing hackers as well.